to their screams. Greetings, ghouls and creeps, and welcome to Listen to Their Screams, a horror podcast. I am one of your maestros for this program. I am Dave, and I'm joined by the other dude, Ike. Ike, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Me too. As everybody knows, if they follow us on social media, and I'm assuming if you listen that you follow some form of our social media, which, by the way, is Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd. Just look up Listen to Screams. That is Listen, the number 2, and Screams. But if you follow us on one of those, you know that, hey, we just got back from vacation. Yes, we know there were programs that came out, but we talked about it. We pre-recorded those. But now we're back in our regular routine and groove, and it feels kind of weird. I know it's only been 2 weeks since we recorded, but I'm feeling off, and I'm having, what do you call it? A little bit of that post-vacation blues. You know, it's like I miss, although it's beautiful here in North Carolina today. It's gorgeous. It's sunny and in the 70s. It's not the weather thing. It's just being back at work and the routine. I like my routines. Trust me, my brain is wired for routines. But man, you missed you just missed that leisure time. But I'm glad to be back here, Ike. I'm glad to be back here with you. I'm glad to talk horror movies. And today we will be reviewing. What are we reviewing? We'll be reviewing Knock at the Cabin by M. Night Shyamalan. We went and saw that in theaters, so we will be talking about that. Before we do, thank you for joining us, as you always do, and make sure you subscribe to us wherever you do. As always, a special thanks to our wives, Monica and Kayla, who, as sick as they normally are probably even more sick after spending so much time with us on vacation. But but on a note, that does bring us to another thing we need to talk about. Speaking of Monica and Kayla, that starting next episode, Ike, we have decided at the persistence of the wives, so to speak, that there's going to be a new occasional segment here on the program that we're going to call the Wives Rebuttal. And this is going to be a simple segment where, yes, they're going to come on the show, mm-hmm. and they're going to, in just a short period of time, they're going to counterpoint one of our reviews. They're gonna find a movie that they disagree with us on, and I figured that's not going to be hard because we tend to like almost every movie we review in some capacity. So they're coming on next week. Like I said, next episode will be the first segment called, like I said, we're calling it the Wise Rebuttal, where Monica and Kayla will be on the show for a bit to counterpoint our movie. And I believe they are going to, for this first time, they're going to counter our opinions on Skinamarink.
Yep.
Is that right?
That is right.
We both enjoyed Skinamarink. We both thought it was tense and fun, and I believe if I remember right, we gave it four screams, and I really enjoyed it. I could be wrong with that, but I believe. But we will discuss that more next episode when they're on. But anyway, moving forward, as always, we'd like to issue a spoiler warning. We do discuss movies on this podcast. So we may spoil some plot points, etc. You have been warned. So like I said, we've been on vacation. We've been away. I don't have anything really that I've watched. I've been back home. I've not even really gotten back in the groove of watching things. I've kind of watched a little bit more of American Horror Story, trying to catch up on that. But otherwise, man, I haven't watched a whole lot outside of going to the theater and watching Knock at the Cabin. How about you?
Honestly, I've been a little bit different. To be honest, though, or I should say, to be fair, when we got off the cruise ship, Dave, he had a 2-day trip back home. Yes. They like to break their trip up. So, you got home probably Friday. So then you had a couple days where you had to basically get back in the groove of things. I was back home on Thursday because I was only 3 hours from where we were cruising. So I had a lot of free time after I got home. So Friday, like you said, I went and watched Knock at the Cabin, but also I had an opportunity to watch 2 movies. Both of them, I think, are only on Vudu or for purchase elsewhere. But I watched Pearl.
You know what? Actually, I watched Pearl as well. Take that back. I did watch something. I forgot until you said that. I forgot I did watch Pearl.
You're like, oh, wait a second. But no, yeah, I watched Pearl. I loved it. It was really good. Obviously that sequel, or that trilogy of movies with Mia Goth, which is X, Pearl, and then Maxine, which is going to be the next one. Honestly, so far, batting 1,000 in my opinion. Pearl was really good. It definitely kind of had that old timey feel to it. Had that eeriness, that ominous
Yeah,
feeling, just like that almost like a psycho feeling. It
yeah,
really reminded me of that.
yeah. I enjoyed it too. I didn't like it as much as X. I still think
Right.
X is a really, really strong movie, and but I did enjoy Pearl. And I love Mia Goth. She is just killing it right now, and and again, it was one of those movies where it started, and I was like, oh man, I don't know about this. And then it really started building and started getting there. And by the time it was over, they had me hooked. So I do look forward to the third one. So
No, me too, me too. The other movie that I watched, actually I watched on Vudu, was Fall. Fall's the movie where two girls basically climb this old like telephone service pole type thing, and it's not a pole, it's like a tower,
yeah,
but it's like 1,000 foot off the ground, and they're like experienced climbers. There's more to it than that, but basically they climb it, and the ladder breaks, and they're stuck at the top, and they have to kind of figure out how to get down. But yeah, I watched it, and I gotta be honest with you, I was not expecting it to be good, but like I watched it, and the more I watched it, I was like, holy shit, this is really good. It was a very tense movie, very, very tense. I wouldn't say that I have a particular fear of heights, but watching this movie, I did. I wasn't liking how high up they were. It was very unnerving. So,
yeah.
honestly, I wish I would have been able to go watch this in theaters because they actually had it in IMAX. And
Oh,
honestly, I think seeing it in IMAX would have been fantastic. Just because of how high up they were and how big the screen is, I feel like that would have been fantastic. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Monica watched Fall. She enjoyed it too. I haven't watched it yet. I just a day or two ago realized that Jeffrey Dean Morgan's in it, and I don't even know
yeah,
how I came across that. So I thought, oh, that's cool. And man, I have a lot of trepidation about watching that movie because uh, I don't like heights, and it's not the heights. It's I don't like feeling unsecure in heights, right? It's that
yeah.
fear of falling part, right? I can be up high if I'm in a building looking out a window. I'm good. I don't care, but I can't like go out on a balcony and lean over and stuff like that. That's what it gets me. But so I think this movie's gonna, I don't know, it might trigger me a little bit, but I still want to see it. Uh,
Yeah. Other than that, though, the only other thing I've been watching is Last of Us, the TV show.
yes, me too.
I've caught up on it so far, and the next episode actually comes out on Friday. So if
Yeah.
you're probably listening to this on Thursday, the new Last of Us episode, if you're watching it, is out on Friday, not Sunday, because of the Super Bowl. Um, but yeah, so I've been watching that Last of Us, such a good show. I actually just recently finished a playthrough of the first game because I was like, man, I want to play through the game since the TV show, the first season's about the first game.
Yeah.
Um, and honestly, such a good game, fantastic game. If even if you're not a fan of video games and you have a PlayStation, I would I would recommend getting it and playing it. It's worth the buy, and it's usually pretty cheap since it came out like 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm one episode behind. I haven't watched the latest episode, and then uh I'll have Fridays to watch as well. But and I have a Winchester still to watch from this week that is available to me today as of we're recording this. But so I'm watching that tonight. Can't wait to watch that. Because mind blown. I know you're waiting until the whole season's over before you watch it, but last week and we're gonna veer here for a moment. Everybody knows my love of the supernatural universe. They threw a little swerve, a little curveball last episode that blew my mind and totally changes the complete complexion of the entire show. Entire show. It's wild. It's like I want to fucking say it to everybody, but I'm like, people haven't seen it yet, and it's not like I don't even want to give the detail of what happened. I just want to tell what it means to the show. Oh,
Right.
it's killing me, but it's so good, so good. But I gotta quit because I want to say so bad. I am not good at secrets, and I'm not good. I'm just not. I am not. I'm one of those people that it's like if I hear something, I just want to go online and just put it out there. Like, holy crap, do you believe this? And but I don't. But uh, wow. Anyway, I have that new episode to watch tonight. Uh, good thing is, I don't think there's too many episodes left in this season, so you'll be able to watch it, and then I can, I won't feel so bad. I don't care about the rest of the world. It's like I don't want to spoil it for you right now. But
I appreciate it. No, yeah, absolutely. As soon as all the episodes are out, me and the wife are gonna binge it because we love Supernatural too, and I really like the concept of Winchester. So yeah, definitely gonna be binging it as soon
it
as
is
possible.
It is good. It gets better, right? It gets. I mean, to me, it started out great, but to me, it gets better every episode. And let me just say, all the questions that people have of, oh, how the hell are you doing this? This doesn't make sense. And one fell swoop, they answered it all.
Yep.
Clearly, it's great. It's great. Anyway, no more of that. We'll move on. This is not a Winchester's podcast, although that would be something that I would very much enjoy. But something else I enjoy, Ike, is our game that we play here on Listen to Their Screams. So let's now play Top 3. Top 3. And on this episode, we are going to talk about our top 3 favorite M. Night Shyamalan movies. And of course, this ties right in since we're discussing Knock at the Cabin, Shyamalan's latest film that is out in theaters now. So, Ike, do you have your top 3 favorite M. Night movies?
I always carry that thing on me.
Laminated in your wallet, huh?
Amen.
Never know when you're going to need that list.
True. Could save my life. Who knows?
Absolutely. And I will say this wasn't as hard as some of the lists we made, but it is still a little difficult because here's my thing. I have a handful that I really like of his movies, right? So getting it down to 3 wasn't too hard. Then it was kind of trying to determine the order a little bit was kind of weird to me because
yeah.
And I very much stick to the philosophy of movies I enjoy and movies that have rewatch value for me. That's my easiest way of narrowing these down. It's like, is it a movie that if I was to see on, I'd be like, oh heck yeah, I'll watch this again. That's the easiest way for me to do these lists, and that's why I always key on that word favorite, right? We don't think these are his best movies per se, or most critically acclaimed, or whatever you want to call it. These are our favorites.
Absolutely.
So let's see. Usually, Ike, you start, so I'll start. I'll start today.
Do it.
My number 3 favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie from 2002, Signs. And I know this movie gets knocked a lot. I see people knock this movie a lot. I love this movie. It is so fun to me. I love Mel Gibson in it. I love Joaquin Phoenix in it. I just think it's a fun movie. And again, if you're looking at quality, maybe, yeah, it's probably not one of his best movies, but just fun watchability to me. To me, this is a great movie.
Yeah, I've seen Signs. It's actually been a while since I've seen that movie, but
here it is. I'm like, I love it. It's got a lot of rewatchability. And you're like, yeah, I've seen Signs.
No. So if I'm remembering correctly, this is the one about aliens, right?
It is, yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. So the movie came out 20 years ago. So if you haven't seen it, I guess go fuck yourself. But but no, this is where they the aliens are weak to water, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't hate the movie. I do think that's a little bit of a silly plot line to it. So I guess that's probably why I didn't make my list. But if I was remembering correctly that it has a Culkin in it, Rory Culkin, if I remember correctly,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Abigail
correct.
Breslin.
Yes, correct.
Of Zombieland fame, if I
Yes.
remember correctly. So.
And wasn't she in Little Miss Sunshine? Am I thinking of the right actress?
Yeah, I think so. I believe so. Yep, Little Miss Sunshine. I just looked her up. Little Miss Sunshine, definitely, maybe. Lots of good stuff. But yeah,
I know.
absolutely.
I know that it's clear to everybody that if I'm thinking of her movies, that Little Miss Sunshine pops immediately to mind for some reason. I don't even know if I've seen that movie. I don't know why. I think it's because maybe it's her first kind of breaking standout role. I don't know. I don't know why I've swayed on this tangent about Little Miss Sunshine.
Little Miss Sunshine.
So let's progress. I feel like we've gone down. I've taken us to a dark place here. Oh yeah, but she is in Zombieland. I love Zombieland. There we go. That's a better segue.
I loved her in Zombieland.
Yeah, I do too. I love everything about Zombieland. It has nothing to do with M. Night Shyamalan though. So let's keep progressing here, Ike, because the wheels are falling off this bus real quick, and it might be the tinfoil hats are in Signs. What is your number 3 favorite M. Night movie?
So let me preface it by saying that all of mine, I don't think we're gonna have any overlap, but my number 3 is Old from 2021. So Old,
very, very good movie. Very good movie.
Honestly, that was another movie that I watched and I was like, wow, I had no idea what was going to happen in this movie, but what little idea I did have, absolutely not what I thought was going to happen at all. But yeah, Old was one of those movies that you watch and you're constantly, like I said, you're guessing what's going to happen, and then by the end of the movie, when you're like, they finally tell you what's happened, you're like, there's no way, like that's like what? And it's just, oh man, I love it. Old is fantastic. Old, honestly, it has some interesting actor choices, if I had to say. Like Alex Wolff, who, for people who don't know, he was like a Nickelodeon star. He was like the Naked Brothers band, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Thomasin McKenzie, who's from Last Night in Soho, which is, I think, is probably her most recent big thing. And there's obviously some other folks, but those two particularly stood out to me. But yeah, Old's fantastic. It has your classic M. Night Shyamalan twist, and I, for once, I would have never guessed it. Never.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. M. Night, he's not afraid to cast what he wants, what he feels is
Yeah.
best, and who he goes. I mean, he never goes. I mean, he doesn't go overall with conventional type actors. I mean, conventional
No.
as in like who's the hottest mainstream. He purely does look for just whoever's best for the role. M. Night is very confident in his movies and is very secure in letting the movie stand on its own. And that's why I believe if you listen, he doesn't respond to criticism a lot. He just kind of lets it go because he believes that he believes the movies stand for themselves, and typically I think they do.
Yeah.
So let's progress on here. Number two, my number two, favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie from 2016, Split.
Uh,
Fucking James McAvoy in this movie, my God, off the charts. I don't even know how many personalities he played. What did they determine? There was 20 something personalities. I don't know if he
yeah.
played them all, but it just and was so spectacular and making each personality feel like a different person in the movie. I love James anyway, but this movie was a spectacular. I love this movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was so well written, so well acted. Was just enjoyable from beginning to end for me. Ike, what do you think of Split?
Well, Split was also my number two.
All right, there you go.
So there was some overlap. I was thinking that you were gonna go old M. Night Shyamalan, um, because especially since you
Well,
started out with Signs.
wait till we get to number one.
But absolutely, Split was also my number two. Split, again, like you said, James McAvoy. First and foremost, James McAvoy is going to be one of those actors that one day we're going to look back and he's going to be super underappreciated. James McAvoy is a jack of all trades. He does
Yes.
literally like 20 different people in this one movie, and they're all so different and unique. Now, obviously, this movie has received some criticism because it does depict people with DID, which is the dissociative identity disorder. Because a lot of people, it used to be called split personality, but it's now referred to as DID. So it does obviously paint somebody with DID as potentially a danger, when generally they're not to themselves or other people. But with that criticism aside, it does obviously shine a little bit of a spotlight on the disorder, and not to obviously say that the disorder is going to give you superhuman powers, but there are obviously some very stark anomalies with people who do have DID, which this, I think, really exemplifies. It really puts it up there on a pedestal, if you will. But also, I have to mention Anya Taylor-Joy is in this, and Anya
Yes.
Taylor-Joy is probably one of my favorite actresses of this age. Again, going back to Last Night in Soho, she was in that. She was also in The Witch. I've not watched it, but everyone says it's really good. Queen's Gambit, and she was also in New Mutants, so, among other things. So can't say enough praises about Anya. But yeah, that was my number two as well. Love Split.
Yeah, me too. I will guarantee you then, based on how you're talking, we have different number ones. Because my number one, you said old M. Night. Yes, I went old M. Night with number one from 1999, The Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
And because here's my thing. This fucking movie set the stage, and I cannot get over that nostalgia of it. I love Bruce Willis. I think Haley Joel did excellent in it, but I cannot get over that feeling when you watch the movie of what it was like to watch it the first time and see that twist in it, right? And again, this movie is however many years old. If you ain't seen it or seen the memes or whatever else, I don't know what to tell you. But when you get to the I see dead people part and you start realizing what's going on, I feel maybe not as intense, but I feel what I did the first time I felt it, right?
Yeah.
And because as it's come to now, you've come to watch for the M. Night twist. You've come to expect it in most of his movies. Not all, but most of his movies. At this time, that wasn't a thing. And when it hits and you're like, whoa, and your mind's kind of blown, I love it. I think that's great. And again, it's just a great movie anyway. But then it's like that experience of the flashbacks and seeing that movie then from that aspect and realizing what you didn't see the first time. I think it's so well done. I love The Sixth Sense. And again, it's you can never fully recapture what it was, that first time when you didn't know what was happening, but it's still I don't know, still gets me pumping a little bit when I see that and remember what it was like.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. It's been a while since I've seen The Sixth Sense, but it's one of those movies that stick with you. I would say that it's a pretty paramount film in my mind, because like you said, it set the stage not only for M. Night Shyamalan, but I think it definitely set the stage for an entire, an entire generation of horror movies and suspense and thriller movies. I have a very strong memory of the scene where I think it's the mom throws up in the tent, and it just scares the ever living shit out of you because like you're like, what the hell's going on? And she like vomits or whatever, and you're like, what the hell? So I have a very very distinct memory of that from the movie for some reason. But yeah, absolutely, I see dead people and it's flashback and it shows I about said Will Smith. Whew,
Oh.
Bruce Willis. Good Lord. But it has Bruce Willis, he got shot in his bathroom by Donnie Wahlberg, wasn't it?
Yes.
Donnie Wahlberg, yeah. So,
I think.
yeah, let me look. Yep, Donnie Wahlberg.
Yeah.
See, I'm on point today with these actor names, let me tell you.
You are. Even if you're questioning them a little bit when you say them, you're like, was it Donnie Wahlberg?
I don't know. I guess my brain's pumping on all cylinders, but
Trust your gut, man. Trust your gut.
I gotta. But yeah, absolutely. Sixth Sense, paramount movie. It is a staple of any supernatural horror film festival or horror film watch fest, if you will. Anytime I do one, I usually will start. I'll fit that in there somewhere.
Yes, absolutely. And that brings us then to the peak here. What is your number one favorite M. Night Shyamalan movie?
I think that with all things considered, I sat down, I thought about this a lot. I think Knock at the Cabin is my number one.
I
I
tell you, I gave it strong consideration for my top three.
yeah.
Actually, when I first made my list, I had it at 3, and I bumped it for Signs with a little bit of the nostalgia, but it is legit, and we'll talk about this more in a bit. It is legit. I mean, this might be a spoiler for our review. I thought it was legit good enough to make the top 3, and I can understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I won't go into it too much because, like I said, we're going to review it here in a second. But going into Knock at the Cabin, M. Night Shyamalan, not to say that he's had a little bit of a rocky past, but some of his movies haven't landed as well as others. Obviously, in recent years, we've had some good ones like Old, Glass, and Split, but we've also had some not so good ones like The Last Airbender or The Happening or Lady in the Water. Not to say that I don't like those movies because I have some respect for them, but I wasn't expecting so much from M. Night because he has had a little bit of struggle. But when I sat down and watched this movie, it was one of those things that from start to finish, I was enthralled. And I won't say much more than that, but that for sure is that's the reason why it peaked its way to number one.
Absolutely. Again, I won't say anything about that because we're going to talk about it here in a bit. And
Right.
but it was a very fun movie, and I can completely understand it being that high on your list. So let's take a little break, and when we come back, we'll discuss some news after this. Remember, in the course of discussing movies, the host will spoil plots. You've been warned. All right, we're back here on Listen to Their Screams, and now let's talk about some news. We don't really have any new releases or upcoming releases. I'm sure there were some things out there, and I apologize if I missed anything. If we missed anything in our research, again, I think they're just coming back from vacation, trying to get back in routines. Maybe we weren't quite as thorough with that, but we'll get there. We'll get there. But before we get to the news, let's discuss. Let's hit some upcoming birthdays, upcoming movie anniversaries. February 11th, 1969, Jennifer Aniston was born. Of course, most known for Friends, but for the case of this podcast, she's also very known. Well, I don't know about very known, but she is in Leprechaun, the first one. Which, hey, I like Leprechaun, the first one.
I love that movie.
Absolutely. Some of the sequels are a little, but when they go in the hood and stuff, I don't know about all that. But the
You
first
don't
one,
like Leprechaun in the Hood or Leprechaun in Space?
I do not. Atypically, if you put in space with anything, I don't know. It just doesn't work for me. I don't know why, but and then February 14th, 1970, Simon Pegg was born. Of course, known for many, many movies, the new Star Trek movies, et cetera, et cetera. But probably most closely tied to this podcast for Shaun of the Dead, one of my favorite movies of all time. I'm a huge Simon Pegg fan. Love Simon Pegg. Love pretty much anything he is in because of him. So, yes, happy birthday coming up to Mr. Pegg. Some upcoming movie anniversaries. February 11th, 1981, My Bloody Valentine was released, which we reviewed last episode. So if you did not hear that, go back and listen to that. February 13th, 2009, Friday the 13th was released. The remake, reboot, whatever you want to call it, which we've determined is one of Ike's, if not his favorite, one of his favorites of the franchise. February 14th, 1931, Dracula was released by Universal, with starring the extraordinary Bela Lugosi, one of my favorite classic horror movies of all time. And then on February 14th, 1991, Silence of the Lambs was released, a spectacular movie, a great movie, a movie that if you have not seen it or have you not seen it in a while, I urge you to watch or rewatch it. It is a great, great movie. Ike, what do you think of Silence of the Lambs?
So I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think I've ever seen Silence of the Lambs all the way through. I've seen bits and pieces of it, and obviously I know the jokes about like whatever the guy's name is. It puts the lotion in its on its skin, or it gets the hose again, Buffalo, or whatever. Yeah. Buffalo Bill. Yeah. So like I know that, and I know like the something about fava beans. I don't know if that's this movie or not.
Yes, it's Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, Hannibal Lecter. And I know who Hannibal Lecter is, but I have not seen this movie or any of the Hannibal Lecter movies.
Anthony fucking Hopkins, man. Come on. Okay, so your assignment in the near future, you have to watch Silence of the Lambs all the way through. I know it's an older movie. I mean, it's got Jodie Foster. I'm telling you, you've got to. It is. I know there's sequels. I know there's prequels. I know there's a TV series. I don't know what all there is out there now. This movie. Watch this movie and report back to us here in the next coming weeks. Find time.
I will do
watch
that.
Silence of the Lambs. And your wife will like it too. I guarantee you. It's a great movie. So that's your assignment. I'm perturbed now that you've not seen Silence of the Lambs. That's right. So let's get on to some news so I can change my train of thought here. George A. Romero Foundation has announced that they are releasing the Dead audio series. And I'm reading this straight from the official press release that was put out by them. Cinedigm? I'm not sure how you say it. Cinedigm? The leading independent. Yeah, Cinedigm. There you go. I don't know what the fuck I was trying to say. Cinedigm. Sorry, my bad.
It's all good.
I'm old and fucked in the head. Cinedigm, the leading independent streaming company, super serving enthusiastic fan bases. I don't know. Super serving sounds a little weird to me. Announced that they, I'm all disheveled now. Announced that its multi-platform horror brand Bloody Disgusting will co-produce a new scripted audio series titled The Dead with the George A. Romero Foundation. The Dead will tell new stories that take place in George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead universe, expanding on the characters and activities from the iconic film series. Set to be 24 episodes long, the podcast will feature a full cast and be entirely scripted. It will be distributed as part of the growing Cinedigm podcast network, everywhere podcasts can be found. They haven't given any dates or anything else to this, but I'm super excited. Anything that you say is tied to Romero and his Night of the Living Dead universe, or of the Dead universe, I'm super psyched for. I typically don't listen to scripted audio drama type podcasts, but I'm telling you, I probably give this one a listen. Like, what do you think of this?
Yeah, obviously I'm a huge fan of zombies. I'm a huge fan of the Night of the Living Dead and related, stories and movies. I've seen pretty much all of them, if not all of them. I am hesitant about the whole audio scripted series just because I don't know. There's something I can't get. I don't know. It's part of the reason why that as much as I enjoy doing a podcast, I don't frequently listen to podcasts, which is weird,
Yeah.
right?
Well, see, here's the thing. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I love podcasts, and they apply very well to certain things, right? To me, podcast is like the new talk radio,
Yeah.
right? And you can hone in on certain topics. The reason I don't care for a lot of these audio dramas, it just depends on what they are. I I don't know how it's going to work for something like this because zombie related materials is often visually driven, right?
Yeah.
If you can't see the kills, I don't know how it's going to translate to just audio. There are some audio dramas I like, right? There's a lot of Doctor Who audio dramas, and I love those because they write them and do them in a sense that it works, right? Because there's more to it than the visuals. And I don't know. I will probably give it a shot, and I'm excited about the concept. I guess I'm just excited that there's something new out there. I just don't know. I don't know how the
Yeah.
zombie genre will translate over to audio only.
No, absolutely. I'm very concerned about that because, like you said, a lot of zombie movies do rely heavily on blood and gore. I mean, if you look at the history of zombie movies, I mean, it's Dawn of the Dead. It's what are the most iconic scenes in that movie? It's people getting ripped open. It's people getting bit. People getting shot. It's this whole encompassing idea that zombies need to be seen in order to be kind of terrifying. But yeah, I'll give it a shot though. I'll definitely give it a try for sure.
Yeah, I feel like we need initially to try it so that we can kind of report on it a little bit. Maybe do a mini review. See now whether we see it through for 24 episodes. We'll see how it goes because if we get an episode or two into it and it's just like we're dragging, I'm not committing to 24 episodes of this thing. But I am giving our listeners our word that we will give at least minimally the first episode a shot and see how it goes from there. We'll take it episode by episode, and we'll do that. Anyway, moving on. George P. Wilbur passed away on February 1st at the age of 81. He played Michael Myers in Halloween 4 and Halloween: The Curse of Michael Myers. It's wild because you hear guys like this, and a lot of them when they pass away, the name doesn't hit you, right? Because they're under the mask, and a lot of times you have your big guys, right? Your big names that do these kind of things. But a lot of the guys under the masks in these movies don't get the recognition during their lives that they often deserve. Now, I say that, but then in the horror circuits, you do a lot of conventions and things, and it's a little probably more accepting. But George P. Wilbur is not one of those names that jumps at you. But we like to send out our thoughts to his family and friends on his passing. I had some exciting movie news though. Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze Jr. are returning for I Know What You Did Last Summer sequel. It's coming from Sony Pictures and directed by Jennifer Caton Robinson. And it looks like it'll be a legacy movie with returning characters and fresh faces. Ike, have you seen I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Oh, of course. I've seen all of those. My favorite one is definitely the one where Jack Black is randomly in the movie. Love it. But yeah, absolutely, I will definitely be watching this because if we learned anything from the Scream kind of legacy movie, I guess is what you could call it, it can definitely work, especially if the original actors are on board. I love Freddie Prinze Jr. and I love Jennifer Love Hewitt, so I will definitely be watching this whatever you want to call it, remake, reboot movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and again, it's a very popular thing right now, right? With the Scream movies, with the Halloween movies, and there's rumblings, of with the Friday the 13th, the Crystal Lake prequel series, kind of tying in a little. I mean, it's similar to this, and there's been some lately some rumblings of a Friday the 13th, a new movie from the other production side of it,
Yeah.
different from the series. But this is a big thing, these legacy type movies, and I had to chuckle because in the Scream movies, one of the latest ones, whichever one it is, I don't know if it was the fifth one, the latest one maybe, where they discuss this kind of stuff, right? They talk about legacy movie, and I believe that's what it was, wasn't it? Because they say, oh, your legacy characters or whatever, when she's talking to Dewey and stuff.
Yeah, I think they called it a requel.
Yeah, requel, that's what it is. Yeah, where they the original characters in. But again, it's a good movie, so I look forward to see it. If it's done right and backed properly and written right, it can be enjoyable. So
Absolutely.
we'll see what happens there. But so let's take a quick break. Like I said, we don't have any new releases this week. We apologize. But let's take a break. When we come back, we will have our review at Knock at the Cabin. Listen to Their Screams is now a Fangoria collaborator. Get 20% off your order at shop.fangoria.com by using the promo code LISTEN2SCREAMS at checkout. That is listen, the number 2, and screams. Or you can click the link in the show notes. All right, we're back here on Listen to Their Screams. I'm Dave, joined by Ike, and we are now going to review Knock at the Cabin, put out by Universal. It was released in theaters on February 3rd, 2023. Ike and I both went to theaters and saw this movie. A quick little snippet of what the movie's about. While vacationing, a girl and her parents are taken hostage by armed strangers who demand that the family make a choice to avert the apocalypse. A few facts. Opening weekend, it did $14.2 billion, and that was good enough to knock Avatar off and earn the number 1 spot for the weekend. So again, Ike, this is a recurring theme that we have to mention pretty much every episode, it seems like. 2022 was a banner year for horror. And we said it when we recapped and we started to transition to 2023, that as good as 2022 was, 2023 looks to be and is lining up to be even bigger. I mean, we've already had Knock at the Cabin and Megan, which are 2 big movies, and we've not even hit Scream yet, coming out in March, which is like kind of the one that everybody's clamoring for, me included. And but here we are. In February, and there's already been 2 big releases in the first 2 months. So 2023 is just, I'm telling you, it looks like it's just keeping on. This movie was based on the 2018 novel The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. So we gave it a little snippet earlier where we both kind of spilled the beans that we both enjoyed the movie. But let's discuss it a little more. Go ahead, dive into it. Tell me what you thought of Knock at the Cabin.
Absolutely. So for people who have not watched this movie, I would highly recommend that you just stop listening right now. I know you love hearing us talk. I know you love hearing my voice, my silky smooth voice, but I would highly recommend like butter. But I highly recommend that you stop listening now, and here's why. Because in order for us to truly talk about this movie, we do have to talk about some of the twists. And in order for me to do that, I have to spoil the movie for you, and I don't want to do that. So I'm going to give an extra special, genuine, heartfelt, stop listening right now. Anyways.
You've been warned.
You've been warned. So here's the deal. Going into Knock at the Cabin, you say, okay, look, this is an M. Night Shyamalan movie. That's the first thing that you think to yourself. When you think of an M. Night Shyamalan movie, what is the one thing that everybody on this earth says when they think of M. Night Shyamalan? A twist.
Yes.
Everyone says there's going to be a twist. You expect a twist. You are going to demand a twist.
Amen.
And this movie did not give you a twist.
That is right.
This movie.
You know what? It was refreshing.
Yes. Absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. This movie literally said nothing for you. Nothing for you today. What you saw in the trailer is exactly what the fuck is happening. This shit is not fake. This shit is not a twist. This is real life. And that is the biggest twist of all. M. Night Shyamalan has literally taken his identity within Hollywood and has literally used it as a element when making a movie. Because here's the deal. Diving into the content of this movie, you have a fantastic cast, okay? You have Dave Bautista. I love Dave Bautista. Dave Bautista could read me a subpoena for my tax records from the IRS, and I would applaud him. So, and it has a bunch of other people, and it has Jonathan Groff, who plays one of the dads. He actually voices Kristoff from Frozen. Fun fact. Rupert Grint of Harry Potter fame, Nikki Amuka Bird and Abby Quinn, who are also 2 of the people who came to the cabin, as well as Ben Aldridge, who I've actually never heard of him, but he's one of the dads too. Anyways, yeah, fantastic cast. Dave mentioned earlier, but M. Night Shyamalan, he casts who he thinks is going to be good in the movie. He doesn't look for these high dollar, profile people. And here's the deal. He picked Dave Bautista to play a second grade teacher from Chicago. And I was like, that makes perfect fucking sense. Honestly, I could see Dave Bautista being a fucking second grade teacher.
And they said that he cast him or knew he wanted to work with him after seeing him in Blade Runner 2049, which Batista was very good in that. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like, it's not like he watched Guardians of the Galaxy and thought, oh yeah, I need to get that guy. It's
Right.
like, and yeah, so it is. M. Night is not afraid to cast based on what he feels is best for his movie.
And here's the deal, guys. Dave Bautista, in my opinion, is the star of this movie. Dave
Definitely.
Bautista plays a tortured soul, somebody who has been cursed with knowledge, somebody who has been cursed with the coming apocalypse, and he now has to go outside of his very nature and not force, but he has to convince somebody to do something horrible. And this movie, it literally hit so many check boxes for me. I mean, it was apocalyptic. It was sad. It was heartfelt. It was literally everything that you want from a horror movie, but also everything you want from a movie in general. Like, there were parts of this movie that didn't feel like a horror movie, but that was okay. And then at the final, I guess you could say, climax of the movie, Dave Bautista literally, he does that perfect, like, I don't want to do this, but I know it has to be done kind of thing. And it's beautiful. Dave Bautista deserved an award.
Absolutely. When I watched this movie, right, and I was watching it, literally, when I went and saw it, I was the only person in the theater, which I really liked. But I will say, when you're watching, kind of a spooky movie or an intense movie, it's a little creepy when you're in a theater by yourself. But anyway, I very quickly, it was very early in this movie when I realized what this movie was. And I realized that this movie was biblical, right?
Yeah.
This movie was Revelations. And this movie, I very quickly, when I saw them, and I tell you what triggered it for me, I realized that the four people that came into the cabin were the four horsemen of the
Yep.
apocalypse. And I realized that with the nurse, right? When she said she was a nurse, and I thought, wait a minute here. And then I started noticing the color shirts they were wearing, which ties in a little bit, right? Because you had the guy, and again, I don't know, I'm not a, whatever, biblical scholar,
Right.
but the horseman that's like, I think, war, right? The redheaded guy with the red shirt, and had the temper, right? And he had the fiery past, and the kid. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's the war horseman, right? That's that guy. And then there's one that's for pestilence and healing and things like that. And I thought, there's the nurse, right? And then there's one who's with famine and feeding and stuff. Well, the one lady was a cook,
A cook.
right?
Yep.
She said she loves to feed people. I'm like, okay, it makes sense. And then you had kind of what, the leader, so to speak, which is typically death, but he has the knowledge, right? And he has the leadership, and he has the guidance, as they called it, I think, in the movie, which was Batista. He was a teacher. He was
Yep.
molding youth, and they were very deliberate for him to point out it's a great responsibility being a teacher. And he said however he said it, and knowing that what I say, they can take to heart, and it can determine their mindset. So I have to be careful with what I say. And again, that's what you want in a leader and a teacher, right? Someone who has mindful of what they say, mindful of what they teach, and the accountability.
Yep.
So again, it was very early in the movie when I thought, that's what this is, right? That is what this. And of course, there's the apocalypse thing, right? They said it almost from the get-go of the movie. I was amazed at how quickly it got to it. I
Yeah.
mean, it really got there quick. And again, I've said this a lot. It was an hour and 40 minutes, and I'm so happy
Oh yeah.
because this is not a movie that needed to go 2 hours plus, and it was wonderful. But again, I noticed the horseman, and I thought, oh, I like that, right? I like where they're going with this, right? Because I, I to be, I'm going to be respectful of people and their beliefs, but when you can't take certain things literal, right?
Right.
If there were to be an end times as depicted in the Bible, it's not going to be word for word what they say in the Bible. It's going to be something within that scope, but in the modern setting, which is what
Right.
this movie kind of did, right? With the whatever, the sickness that was like a plague, and the earthquake, and what all was it? I don't even know what all there was. The tsunami, I think, as part of that and stuff. And the planes falling out of the sky blew my mind. That was
Yeah.
freaky. So
Well, that's what I was gonna say next, and I don't mean to cut you off, but what I was gonna
No, no.
mention next is they talked about the 4 plagues upon humanity, and
Yes.
it still kind of gives me chills because every time that they released a plague, the first person they killed was Rupert Grint, and
Yes.
as we said, he was war, and
Yes.
before he dies, he puts on a white like silk mask thing, and he
Yeah.
says part of humanity has been judged, and then they
Yes.
kill him, and it releases a plague. And it's like he said that, and it gave me chills. And I'm like, okay, this is just like some. Because at first, here's the thing: I noticed there are 4 of them, and I was like, if they're going apocalypse, 4 horsemen makes sense. But I'm thinking to myself, there's no way they're going that route. This is it's going to be a twist. And then the one of the dads is a lawyer, and he starts
Yeah.
talking about how that they're a part of a cult. And I'm like, that's got to be it. That's got to be
Yeah.
it. They're mentioning it. They're saying it early to try and throw me off. It's going to be a cult or like a doomsday type thing. This isn't real. And
Yeah.
so the first guy dies, and I think that's when they said that there is going to be like flooding, right? That was the first plague. Um,
Yeah.
and there was a flood, but and they even mention it. The first earthquake that caused the first tsunami had happened 4 hours earlier prior to them being there, so they could have planned it, right? It was a
Yep.
fluke, and they really make you believe that. And then
Yeah.
the second person, which was the cook, when she says part of humanity has been judged, and they kill her, and they're like uh, disease, and they're definitely trying to play up on like the COVID kind of type thing,
Hmm.
and and the guy's like, oh, I've been seeing reports about this disease for weeks, like this has been happening, that this is a fluke, you guys are crazy. But then the one that really got me, the one that got me was when the third lady, the
The
nurse died,
nurse. Hmm.
and the plane started falling out of the sky,
Yep.
and the earth was scorched by God's fingers, and you're just like, holy shit, this is real. Like, what?
Yeah. And it was
And
like several hundred planes. It wasn't
yes.
just like a handful. It was like worldwide, several hundred planes. It was wild.
And I think the thing that I think the most chilling part of this movie, because Dave Bautista's character, he goes, he's like, after I'm gone, you'll have only a little bit of time to decide, because basically how they decide to kill somebody is if they say no. If they
Yes.
say no, we're not going to do this, they have to kill one of them and unleash a plague. Well,
Yeah.
the fourth plague is eternal darkness. And I remember he says that you only have so much time, but he sits down in the chair, pulls out a knife, and he says, all of humanity has been judged, and kills himself.
Yeah.
And like, just the chills that I got when he said that. And like, you could hear the shakiness of his voice, but he has like that clarity where he's like, this has to happen. And you're just like, holy shit. This is
Yeah.
Dave Bautista. This is a guy who I would never expect to be able to pull this off. And it's just, oh my god, it's still, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. It was. Yeah. He was so sincere in the movie, right? He did so. They all of them did. The 4 that
Yeah,
played the horseman character types. They were, you could tell they were very conflicted, right? They didn't
oh
want to
yeah,
do this. The first guy saying, "I'm so fucking scared," because he knew what was coming. At that point, we didn't know what was coming, but it was so sincere that they don't want to do this. They don't want to die. They don't want to sacrifice themselves, but they have to, or someone they love, or someone, or just chunk of the world is going to. And it was so sincere. It felt so
yeah,
sincere. And it was, again, the whole movie. I loved it because right from the get go, when Batista walks up and he's bonding with this girl, and it makes sense now, because at first when you see it, he's bonding with this little girl and talking to her, you're like, why is he talking like it's kind of? But then when you find out he's a teacher, a second grade teacher, it makes sense, right? He knew how to communicate and interact with a child that age. And I like when the others are coming and the girl questions, "Are those your friends?" And he's like, "They are people I work with," or however he said it,
right,
showing that he didn't necessarily like these people or what they were doing, but they had a job to do together. And it was so good. And then the whole tie together with the Boogie Shoe song, how at early in the movie, and they're going to this vacation, and it's this happy time, this family time, and they're singing and dancing in the car to the song. And then when it's, all said and done, and they get in the car, and when they turn it on, that song's still playing, or it's playing it, it's like, oh, and they turn it off and on a couple times, not knowing what to do, but ultimately they turn it on, leave it on. It's kind of this optimism of, well, we did this, we had to do this, we will remember the sacrifices, etc. One of the things I think I enjoyed best about this movie, and to me that is a stroke of genius by M. Night, is M. Night used his own place, and you kind of mentioned this earlier, used his own place in Hollywood, his own devices, his own cliches, so to speak, that he's known for. He used them as plot devices without them being part of the story. Because, like you said, you're watching this movie waiting for the twist, waiting for what am I not seeing? And instead, what you just get is this really enjoyable movie, and it adds to that suspense because you're waiting for something that's not there, which is suspenseful in its own right. And it's not you're disappointed in the end, but it feels, because let's be frank, sometimes it's gotten to the point where his twists have become a little tired.
Yeah.
And it's almost like where you feel like, oh, I have to, or he would think, I have to put this in there, right? I had to put something in there because that's me. It's what I do, and that's what people want to see. And there's this old adage in certain things. It's been around for decades. It's this saying in professional wrestling of, how can I miss you if you don't go away, right? And it was back in the days when there were territories, and a professional wrestler would go to another territory for a while and then come back, and and if they're gone for 6 months to a year, people go crazy because, oh, he's been gone and we haven't seen him. That's kind of what will happen here if he goes for a little bit and doesn't use this, the twist, and then if he drops a good one in on the movie, it'll be great because it'll be like, it's M. Night, it's classic M. Night back, and it'll feel that way. It won't feel tired anymore. So it's brilliant in my eyes. And again, I'm not saying I enjoy M. Night Shyamalan, but I'm not saying I'm the world's biggest fan per se. And he's got a lot of misses out there in my eyes. But man, Knock at the Cabin is not it. It is a great movie. It was just I mean, I say it all the time. It's my go-to word because it's what I want in a movie. It was fun. It was fun to watch. It was enjoyable to watch. It was pretty straightforward. There wasn't like there was anything groundbreaking. It wasn't like there was anything over the top spectacular about this per se. It was just well done, well shot, well acted, well written. It was just a solid, fun movie. And
Absolutely.
And I think that's what he needed. I think it was the best route to go. And I like I said, I fully enjoyed it. Do you have any more? I cut you off there. Did you have anything else to say about Knock at the Cabin?
No, I just gotta say that I have to agree. It was a very raw movie in a way. It didn't pull its punches. It really explores a lot of those kind of like, because it deals with like trauma at a young age too. It talks about how this little girl is having to bear witness to this, and like how is that going to affect her, and how is that going to and even Leonard talks about I wish that you didn't have to be here for this, and it really addresses all of those fears of not only being a human but of being a parent, right? I'm not a parent, but I can only imagine how a parent would feel watching this, and seeing a little child being present for all of this horribleness. And so it really touches on a lot of those really deep-seated fears that humans have. And M. Night really did a really good job with this. He, in a respectful way, talked about religion. He, included this concept of like, the end of times and, what could be done to prevent this. And and the people who were chosen, they struggle with why us? Why should we help people? It's a gay couple. They were talking about why should we help the rest of the world when the rest of the world hates us? They despise us. Why should we help them? And it talks about like the fallibility of humans and the fallibility of man. Like these are, because the one father was like, yes, these people are bad, but there's always hope. And it's just,
Yeah. I think, and again, my takeaway, yes, the movie is a depiction, quote unquote, of the end times and the Four Horsemen. But to me, the gist of the movie was about the sacrifice part, right?
Right.
And it was, so I think broader scope is, and I think it was to me, and I could be wrong, right? I didn't write the movie, but what I pulled from it, and again, I don't want to talk hot button topics or political topics, but I feel like it's a little bit applicable here. It's the scope of the parenting, the sacrifice coupled together, right? And I think it ties, again, to me, there's a lot of issues and things that tie into that too, right? And there's the issue of women's rights and their self-choice, their bodily choice, right? By body by choice, so to speak. And what happens if it comes down, and it's a very split hot button topic of, in certain instances, what do you do in an instance when it's the mother of the child, or things like that. And even I think that could tie into it if you're in a certain. I think it's a movie that, depending on your walk of life, can pull different emotions from you in different aspects. But I think it all keys in on that sacrifice part, right?
Right.
Would us, or would one of us, in a situation, maybe not even as global as this, but just in a situation, could we be selfless enough to make a decision or to make a self-sacrifice for the good of someone else or for a greater good? And I know it's very easy for someone to say, absolutely, yes, I would. If we were somewhere and there was someone, whatever, instigating a violent act, I could step up and I could do something, even if it meant it cost me my life or cost me whatever, to save a group of people. It's easy to say. It's easy to say, and it's noble to say and to have that mindset. But when you're put in that situation, it's not so easy. It's not so easy to think or to be able to do that. And so I think that's really, to me, again, I think a lot of people could pull a lot of different things from watching this movie. And maybe I'm overthinking it, because I do that a lot of times. But I think the key of the movie is about the struggle of sacrifice. And could you do it? Whatever it is. And, put in that situation where you were with your family, your significant other, and your child, even if you 100% without a shadow of a doubt knew that if you did not make the choice, a chunk of the world would die, a chunk of the world that you possibly don't know one person in, right? Potentially don't even know anybody in that chunk. Could you sacrifice someone from your family, one life, to save thousands, right? Because that's an age-old mindset, an age-old, literary and whatever value, that, the life of one does not outweigh the life of many, right? I mean, that's a huge thing. And I think that ties into it as well. So I don't know. Again, that's just my mind was willing with this movie, with so many things. And that's what just kept pulling at me, was that sacrifice, right? And could you do it? And it's tough. It's a weird situation. And I'm not even saying in time sacrifice. Just, it could be something smaller, but still life changing for you, for that person. It's hard. It's hard to say in those situations, right? It's weird. But and it's, again, I thought it was a very, very, that's again, it's a sign of a good movie, right? It's a fun movie. It was fun to watch, but man, it was, a day or two later, I'm really sitting here thinking, and I'm thinking, man, was there more to that movie than what, I first thought? Just, because when I first came out of it, I thought, that was just a fun watch. It didn't have the twist. It's not as deep, it's not as heavy and deep as he tries to be sometimes. That's great. And then a few days later, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe there was some more layers there, that you don't see on first glance. And it's one of those movies I can't wait to watch again.
Yeah.
And see what on a second view, what I pick up on and what it makes me feel. So, and again, I could be a bunch of poppycock. I could be overthinking, because sometimes I try to see things that aren't there. But
no, I if I had to say, this movie does have a deeper meaning. It has to. Just by the way it was done, I mean, oh man. There's so much you could pull from it, like you said. I mean, our interpretations are only two of many that I've seen on the internet, and yeah, that's one of my favorite things about movies like this, is that it's a great movie. You have fun watching it, you enjoy it, but then you can also think about it, and it just constantly revolves and evolves your opinion of the movie.
yeah, and there's no, it's not necessarily that someone's right or wrong, right? Because
Right.
it's based on personal feelings and personal experience. If I watch the movie and what really jumps at me is the sacrifice part of it, that's just because that's what, what I'm taking away from my mindset at that time. And that's what hit on me. Someone else could watch that movie and completely connect with someone else. There could be a chef who could connect with that feeding people part, or a nurse, they could key on just a small element of it, right? That really hits home with them. It's and that's what's great about movies and entertainment and stuff like that. Things like that. It's just performance arts. It's, man, it strikes people in different ways, and it's not right or wrong. It's because it's about the feeling, right, and how you feel. So, man, I think we've pumped this one up enough. We've really, we've again, it was a fun movie. It was a great movie. Let's rate this thing, because I will say though, I don't depict it as a quote unquote perfect movie.
No.
Because to me, there's not, I'm not seeing a lot of faults in the movie, but there's not anything groundbreaking, right? There's nothing that's changing the industry or changing our approach or whatever you want to say. But it was a great, great movie. If I'm going to rate this thing, I am giving it 4 screams out of 5.
Yep. I was leaning towards 3.5 screams, but the more we talked about it, and here's the deal. I think the thing that really kind of evolves this movie for me to make it even better than that initial watch is basically the thought behind it. So I agree. I think 4 screams out of 5 would be how I would rate this film.
Yeah. I think it is one of the better, more enjoyable movies we reviewed so far. But again, I don't view it as a perfect movie, because it's not shaking, it's not shaking anything up, not breaking new ground.
Right.
It's not doing something that puts it on a pedestal as one of those landmark Library of Congress type movies. But it is a fun movie, enjoyable movie. And again, it's one of those movies that's, it's got me longing to watch it again. And it's got one of those movies that, again, whether there's a deeper thought or deeper element to it or not, who knows? Maybe there's not. But if the movie is triggering me enough that it's causing me to think things through and pick things up, that's an effective movie.
Oh yeah.
On that level. So even if there's nothing more there, it's good enough that it's triggering. It's making me feel and think something. So well done. It was a fun movie. Again, if you haven't seen it, we spoiled it for you. Man, we warned you 2 or 3 times. So whatever. No apologies here. But go see the movie. Hopefully you have seen it. I mean, it did well. It was #1. So I'm guessing a lot of you that are listening to us have already seen it. So next week, we're watching another new movie that's coming out called The Outwaters. This one's got a lot of hype behind it. I hear a lot of people talking about it. It's a found footage movie. We're going to see if the recent string of found footage movies that I have enjoyed continues on, because I enjoyed the VHS movies. I enjoyed Deadstream. And I was very, very adamant that before that found footage was a tired trope for me, and that I just was not enjoying much. And then we've had a string that's changed my mind. So what will Outwaters do? So we'll discuss that next episode. Make sure you subscribe to us and follow us on social media that we mentioned earlier. So Ike, before we get out of here, anything else you want to throw in there?
A part of humanity has been judged.
Yeah, probably me. I think that's going to be a part of this podcast. Has been judged. That will be our go-to line when one of us says something that the other disagrees with, and gives us that oh shit moment. That's how we'll bring it up. The other person has full license to say a part of this podcast has been judged.
Amen.
I feel like we're going to probably overuse that. Much like some of the other things we did in the past. That's okay. That's all right. So again, next week we'll be reviewing the found footage film Outwaters. It's a new release. Plus, we will have the new segment, The Wives Rebuttal, with our wives Monica and Kayla. You will get to hear the 2 ladies behind us that we talk about every week, and you're going to get to hear them come on and try to tell us why we're wrong. But I'm already. I haven't even heard their argument, and I'm telling them I'm right. I disagree with what they say, even before.
True.
If they're trying to counter my point, oh, I'm sorry, you're wrong. But we'll get to hear their argument next episode. But until then, wherever you go and whatever you do, be good, be safe, and have many pleasant nightmares.